Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is September 28th, and we have a really good show today. Really good show. We've been talking about mitochondria forever, and those of you who have been fans of the show for a long time know that. Well, here's a missing link, and it's fascinating, and it's probably a gateway to a lot of other exciting stuff to come. And then later in the show, we're going to be talking about CBD being used in sports nutrition. What is it doing there? So you'll want to stay tuned for that as well. Before we get started, we have to thank our title sponsor, Legendary Foods. If you are a low carb, low sugar, high protein person, maybe keto, really, if protein is important and keeping your carbs down and sugar consumption down is important to you, then you'll want to go to eatlegendary.com because they have the best snacks that will keep you in your lane. Use the code SHR10 to receive 10% off your entire purchase. And be sure to check out the Tasty Pastry. It's a Pop-Tart. Yes. And it has less than 1 gram of sugar and 9 grams of high leucine, high-quality protein. Put them in your kids' lunch boxes. They won't know that they're good for them. They'll just think it's a Pop. Oh, Mom, give me a Pop-Tart. Yeah, wonderful. You have to check them out. I also want to announce to those of you who are fans of the show that today is my first full week with zero caffeine. This is amazing for me, and I don't feel like I need it. And we'll talk more about that at the end of the show, so you'll want to stay tuned for that as well. Welcome to the show, Dr. Joe Baur. How are you?
Thanks, Carl. Happy to be here.
Yeah. This is going to be fun. So, before we talk about your research on the mitochondria, let's talk about why. What research preceded this that you were kind of led down this path to look at this?
Yeah, well, this is kind of, in my mind, been the elephant in the room for a while, and that we've all been interested in NAD and how these different supplements might be beneficial and different NAD-dependent enzymes might work. But we've known that a lot of the key effects of NAD take place inside the mitochondria, and it's just never been figured out exactly how it gets in there. And so we've been interested in this question on a fundamental level for a while. We've done some preceding studies where we had used isotopic tracers to show that basically we could create NAD in the cytosol with isotopic labels all around the molecule, so we could tell that it was made in the cytosol, and then find that same molecule inside the mitochondria. And so it's been a couple of years now since we first knew that the mitochondria were taking NAD from the cytosol. We just still didn't know how. And so this recent paper is really that discovery of what it is mechanistically. What is the protein that actually gets the NAD into the mitochondria?
See, and this is an important distinction in and of itself because, I injected NAD plus 25 milligrams 4 days a week, and I did that for probably about 8 months. I recently just took off. I ran out, and I didn't feel like ordering, and so I'm off. But, I really didn't notice a whole lot. I can't say that I experienced the energy that people speak of, but I'm a naturally energetic guy. I'm a pretty energetic 62-year-old. So maybe, only those who are deficient notice something, and those who aren't don't notice anything. We see this a lot in different types of supplementation research where one group gets a great response, the other group notices nothing, and then when they look deeper, they go, oh, that group was deficient. So, but there are so many companies out there right now hawking nicotinamide D-ribose, and it's patented and it's expensive. I think Sabinsa, maybe it's not Sabinsa, but there's a company that owns it. Oh, Chromadex owns the patent on it, and it's expensive. And people are down in this stuff like, oh, it's going to make me live longer, and maybe not, right? I mean, if the transporter is taken out of the equation. Maybe look, the brain has the capacity to make its own insulin in an emergency. Maybe the mitochondria is like that. Maybe the mitochondria can biosynthesize NAD plus, but not indefinitely. Do you think that people who are downing tons and tons of these supplements may not be seeing the benefits because they have a malfunctioning transporter system?
So that, I mean, I suspect, honestly, with how fundamental it is to get NAD into the mitochondria, that if this transporter system was really malfunctioning, you would have an overt mitochondrial disorder. So I think it's more likely that the people that really have this system malfunctioning are some of these patients that do exist that have mitochondrial disorders that just have an unknown origin, and that maybe this will fill in the blanks for a few of those patients. The more fundamental question of whether we have enough NAD in the first place, I think, is really important, right? Whether the people that do see benefits are really only the ones that happen to be deficient in the first place. There's always this question of, how did your body choose how much NAD you would have by default? And certainly you can make it within each of your cells, including in the brain does make its own NAD. And so there's this fundamental question of why would there be a mismatch between how much you have and how much you need?
Right.
Now, in mouse models, that does seem to be the case, right? I mean, a lot of the basis for why these supplements are selling so well is that there have been mouse studies where in different conditions, boosting NAD levels helps a lot. It's really an open question in most cases how well that's going to translate into humans. And, people are jumping out ahead of, I think, of the science in that sense, if they feel confident that it's going to help them. But there's certainly a possibility from the mouse work, and it's going to be important to have real clinical trials where we see if there are benefits. But I think this real question of whether it depends on you having a deficiency for some reason to see a benefit, I think, is a really important thing to consider. And in fact, that we've seen that in mice, that if we take young, healthy mice, we have a lot of trouble showing that there's any benefit to boosting NAD levels through the roof in those young, healthy animals, right? You can find lots of scenarios where you have an older mouse or a sick mouse where it seems to help. And, it may well be the same thing for humans.
So, NAD is a downstream metabolite of just good old-fashioned nicotinic acid. I mean, if you have adequate amounts of niacin in your diet, theoretically, you should have the building blocks to make your own NAD. In fact, I use D-ribose now since I've kicked caffeine, I've had to find some creative ways to create a pre-workout. And D-ribose is a fantastic sugar, specifically used by muscle, but especially by the heart. And the heart can be the limiting factor in being able to train hard, because there's a negative feedback loop that keeps you from killing yourself. So you can't push as hard. But if I'm taking D-ribose and nicotinic acid, I have to believe that my body has what it needs to synthesize NAD plus. Am I wrong about that?
No, that certainly gives your body the components. I mean, and your body can make the ribose as well, right? So the pentose phosphate pathway is an alternative pathway to glycolysis. The glucose goes through that produces ribose. And so the argument with all of these things is that something must be going a little bit wrong sometimes. So it takes a lot of ATP. It takes a lot of energy for the cell to generate NAD. And so one argument in favor of something like nicotinamide riboside is that it enters the synthetic pathway farther downstream, and you spare some of that requirement for extra energy input to make it. And so maybe if you take a tissue that's under a lot of energetic stress, it's not very capable of regenerating its NAD pool, and that would give it a simpler path.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. So let's talk about this gene that you discovered. It's called SLC25A51.
Yes.
Tell us.
Well, so first of all, when it has a name like that, that's usually a sign that it's going to be interesting, because nothing was known about it, right? It's been given a systematic name where it's just named after the transporter family that it's a member of, and pretty much nothing else. The order it was discovered in is 51.
Right.
So this is a transporter that's been around for a while. There've been a couple of screens that have suggested it might be important for mitochondrial function, but just in terms of large genome-wide sets where lots of things were in there, and it hasn't really stood out. Other than in some recent screens for essential genes, if you really synthesize all the data together and look, it does start to pop out as one of the genes that is labeled as being in the mitochondria, no known function, and it really is essential.
Oh, wow. So there was it's not like it does some other things and now you found out it does this. There was no known function for this gene.
Right.
Wow.
Since it was out there, somebody had seen it.
Yeah.
Nobody
I
knew.
didn't know there were genes that we still didn't know what they did. That's pretty cool, actually.
No, there's lots of them still out there.
Really?
But, they've been given these systematic names, and it tends to fool people. That they're described and they're listed in reports, but they're many of them just you have no idea what actually happens.
That's fascinating. So, how does it? So we know a lot about membranes and transportation. Is I know there's two membranes on a mitochondria, right? The outer, and then there's an inner membrane.
Yes.
Is this gene responsible for producing an enzyme that then takes the NAD plus across both of these membranes into a specific area, or just once it gets it into the mitochondria knows what to do with it?
Well, so there are larger openings on the outer membrane. It's a little bit easier for things to get back and forth. This gene encodes a protein that inserts into the inner membrane and provides a pathway for the NAD to make it inside the matrix.
Okay. And then once it's in that matrix, where does it go?
It's floating around. So it's actually the communication between the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain. So if you're familiar with mitochondrial biology, right?
So it actually this actually flips the switch on ATP production. You're saying this turns it up or doesn't assist at all?
No, this does assist. So this is actually the molecule that's involved in the as the Krebs cycle turns. So as you're churning through your acetyl-CoA in the mitochondria, which is coming from carbohydrate or fat or whatever source of energy you have, as you turn through that, release carbon dioxide the whole way around, you're generating NADH from NAD. So you're converting it to its high energy form. That molecule donates the electrons that it's picked up to complex 1 of the electron transport chain. So it is what's communicating from the biochemical reactions to the actual electron transport chain that generates the ATP in the mitochondria. And
now,
so without NAD, it just doesn't work at all.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm a little ADD. So we now know that taking too much of an antioxidant, because it reduces stress on the mitochondria, actually reduces adaptation, desired adaptations to exercise, for instance. Could it be possible that making the job too easy for the mitochondria keeps it from adapting, and that a reduction in availability of NAD plus may actually make a more robust, stronger mitochondria?
I mean, it is, theoretically possible. We don't really know yet, but what I will say is that in the muscle, at least when you exercise, one of the responses is to generate more NAD. So you upregulate some of the biosynthetic genes and you increase the NAD content of muscle over time as you exercise. So we tend to see it as at least an adaptive mechanism that would promote physical ability. Although we can't rule out that you might be right. If you've given the NAD in advance, it may be that you don't get the full adaptive response because you already have the NAD and don't put as much stress on the system.
Is this gene affected in any way, like by an epigenetic effect, in that we see this gene doing less and less as we age? Do we have a link to aging and function of this gene?
We don't have a link to aging yet. I mean, we certainly see less NAD in aged tissues and less NAD in the mitochondria of aged tissues in some cases. So this whole system, is part of the aging process. But this particular gene actually doesn't jump out very often in terms of something that's being changed at the transcriptional level. So it doesn't seem like there's a major mode of epigenetic regulation. And what we would hypothesize is that it's probably regulated post-translationally. So the activity of the protein is probably responding to things much more than the gene expression.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with senescent cells?
Yes.
Do senescent cells have malfunctioning mitochondria? Do they have functioning mitochondria?
They have malfunctioning mitochondria in many cases in that they're producing more reactive oxygen species and things. They still do have their fundamental function that they can produce ATP.
Do they still rely on NAD plus for anything? Once they're senescent, they do, huh?
They do. So the mitochondria are still functioning there, and there's still reactions going on in the cytosol and then the nucleus that require NAD. So that you basically can't have a living cell without NAD.
Interesting. Do you see a reduction in? Oh, we don't know because you just discovered this. I'm wondering if there's a reduction in the transporter function in senescent cells versus quiescent cells, because then that could speak to why aging we know about senescent cells now. We know about the accumulation of senescent cells in tissue. It could possibly be that it's the senescent cells that are downregulating the function of this gene and the transport of NAD plus into the mitochondria. But you guys have to look into that now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be, I mean, that would be fascinating because, like, a lot of us older guys who are using things like rapamycin, Rapalogs, once a week, 6 milligrams. I'm that guy. And, I noticed since I started doing it, I noticed great changes in my energy also. And also some maladies that I've developed as I age. They seem to this isn't a placebo. Like week after week, do I notice that it feels better? It's functioning better. And I'm just wondering if senescent cells could be the reason that this gene starts to produce or produce less, and there's less transport across the membrane. That would be an interesting thing to find out.
Yeah, so one of the fundamental things senescent cells are doing, right, is producing what's called the SASP, right, or the senescence-associated secretory response. So they are releasing all kinds of inflammatory proteins into the surrounding environment, and they could well be the cause of a change in the activity of this protein through some inflammatory signaling cascade, even if it's not fundamentally changed within the senescent cells themselves. And rapamycin definitely does modify that response and downregulate some of the inflammatory factors.
Well, and interestingly enough, I was just communicating with Dr. Mikhail Blagasclony. He's been on the show numerous times. Do you know who he is? He's the guy who wrote the original paper. Okay, great. I said, Misha, I said, do I have to worry about I said, Misha, how does rapamycin affect mitophagy? And he says it actually increases mitophagy. And so now it's a good thing because mitophagy means that the organelle is cleaning itself up more regularly and it's less likely to develop metabolic debris and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, it's interesting to find out if getting rid of senescent cells changes the landscape of this transporter. That would be fascinating to me. But let's talk a little bit about epigenetics for a second. Is there any evidence, or even though you may not have had to do the study, do you see anything that correlates with other gene functions that you've looked at that would indicate that there may be some epigenetic triggers at work on this particular gene?
No, I mean, so certainly it's a mitochondrial gene, and they tend to move in unison, right? There's a few transcription factors that tend to control most of the mitochondrial genes. So certainly it's going to be epigenetically regulated, but the level of things like PGC1 alpha, which is called the master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis, and that will trigger epigenetic changes at many different mitochondrial genes, including this one, and up or down regulate them. So we certainly expect that to play a role in its expression. But I have to say we haven't seen a signature of this gene jumping out of line by itself in any of the things that we've looked at, which is really why we are a little more focused on the regulation at the level of the protein right now.
What disease states do you think this research could potentially have an effect on? If we recognize let's say we find a drug therapy that increases the function of this gene and we see more transport of NAD plus into the mitochondria. What diseases depend on that process?
Well, I think, there's a few different ones. I mean, obviously it's very speculative at this point, but for sure, in cancer, there are different tumors that prefer one mode of metabolism or the other, right? That they tend to be more glycolytic or more oxidative, depending on mitochondria. And so being able to manipulate this protein, either to inhibit or activate it, you may well be able to push the tumor in the direction it doesn't like, and maybe have a therapeutic effect in different cancer models. There's been an observation that NAD levels are depleted in heart failure.
Yeah.
We've actually done some work showing that as the heart is failing with low NAD, it tends to accumulate most of the remaining NAD in the mitochondria. And the half-life even there seems to extend a little bit as the NAD levels are falling. So it's preserving it as well as it can. So I think there's certainly a possibility that boosting NAD levels in the mitochondria during heart failure would be therapeutic.
Yeah.
Maybe shield the NAD a little bit. So many of the enzymes that break down NAD are in the cytosol or the nucleus, and not present in the mitochondria. And so by pushing more of it in there, you may spare it for a lot longer in conditions where it's being depleted.
What about is it muscular dystrophy that's also associated with the mitochondrial dysfunction also? I just forgot how to talk. Isn't muscular dystrophy one of those?
Yeah, so in muscular dystrophy, there is some evidence now in mouse models again that it actually has a pretty good therapeutic effect when you supplement with nicotinamide riboside mouse model of muscular dystrophy does much better. The muscles regenerate better and get bigger, and the mitochondria function better. So that's certainly an area of interest for human studies. It hasn't been proven in humans at this point, and it's a very difficult and expensive proposition.
Yeah.
There's a more recent study on different mitochondrial myopathy, right? So another muscle wasting disorder, but that is known to be caused by mitochondrial dysfunction in humans, where niacin was recently shown to be therapeutic. So not one of these.
There's that downstream metabolite. Yeah. Dr. Steven Sinatra had the Sinatra protocol for heart failure about 14 years ago. And he suggested taking magnesium, acetyl-L-carnitine, D-ribose, CoQ10, and niacin. And now he was a heart surgeon. He spent his career cracking, chests open, and he went to this, and he said he never had to replace another heart or do surgery on another heart. He said he saved thousands and thousands of heart failure patients. And when you think about that, look what's there, niacin, obviously acetyl-L-carnitine has been shown to make the mitochondria prefer, I don't want to say fats, substrate of fat, triglycerides as a source of energy. And so there's that. Because if the mitochondria is malfunctioning and it's not using glucose, then you're in trouble. But it's the niacin, it's the D-ribose. They're right there, and so the body probably upregulates the production of NAD plus.
Yeah, in a theoretical sense, you can certainly link in the carnitine there too, because if there is mitochondrial dysfunction, like you would get with NAD deficiency, you tend to build up fats. You can't oxidize them as quickly, and the carnitine conjugated fats can then drift out of the mitochondria, in some cases into the blood, so you can be carnitine deficient. Secondary.
And I actually think if it helps someone for athletes, I remember reading a study 20-something years ago that showed that there's a negative feedback loop. I alluded to it at the beginning of the show. There's a negative feedback loop that actually keeps you from driving yourself into a heart attack. And so the ability of your heart to work hard talks to the brain. Mm-hmm. And when you start nearing that threshold, you become muscles fatigue occurs. It's part of the neurological process of putting the brakes on. And if you took these supplements that are helping heart failure patients before you went for a bike ride or a high intensity interval train, you'll be able to train harder. I guarantee it, because if it can save someone whose heart is failing, then think what it could do for you when you're pushing your heart as hard as you can. CoQ10, acetyl-L-carnitine, magnesium, niacin, and D-ribose. Those 5 things. Somebody should come out with a pre-workout that just uses those and no caffeine at all. We're going to take our first commercial break, and when we come back, I've got lots more questions. We're talking with Dr. Joe Baur right now. This is a fascinating discovery, and I predict there's going to be a lot of research now that you have now that you have this target. I would imagine that you're just kind of like a kid in a candy shop. Like, we could check this, we could do this. I want to talk about literally testing for this function to see if, before people put a lot of hope in this, maybe they can get some sort of test to determine that this is in fact a problem that they have. Okay, we'll talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned. I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 25% off all beef and free shipping on orders of $100 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration. At Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat calories of traditional. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from drseeds.com. Listen to Maggie Kuhn, one of the owners of the C-Bus Lifting Company gym in Columbus, Ohio.
I had been having some nagging tendon issues that weren't injuries, just things that were annoying. I'm 58 years old, so just older tendon kind of issues. For us powerlifters, we really don't stop training when we have just nagging issues. We just kind of keep pushing through. And I started the BPC. What I noticed was I was doing some heavy tricep stuff that would have killed me before when I had an elbow problem, and I was able to do that with literally no pain at all.
Go to drseeds.com, drseeds.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your bottle of BPC Body Protection Complex today.
Want to improve mental energy and focus? Try the new Superhuman Stack from Pure Nootropics. Stack Dynamine, L-Butamin, Theocrine, and palmitoyl ethanolamide together and feel the lights go on in your brain. Find your perfect mix of these four. Carl likes 1 cap of each and 2 caps of Dynamine. Bam! Lights on. Go to shrnetwork.biz/superhuman stack, all one word, today, and get yours for 25% off plus free shipping. That's shrnetwork.biz/superhuman stack.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? The rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave it, you'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Welcome back. We're talking with Dr. Joe Baur. We're talking about a recent study that was published looking at the ability to transport NAD plus across the membrane of the mitochondria into the mitochondria. This is a very important distinction because for a long time, everybody thought that the mitochondria had to make the NAD plus in order for it to be of any good. And the fact that this transporter exists tells us that's not necessarily true. So is there a way to test for this? Like the protein that's made? I would imagine you could test for levels of this protein, right?
Yeah, no, it's certainly a simple. So, I mean, if you're talking about something that's mass market for humans, right?
That's up the road. But I mean, you could could theoretically test if somebody came in with chronic fatigue. Mm-hmm. There will be a point in time where they would be able to do a blood assay and say, you're what's the name of the protein that this gene produces?
I mean, you refer to it either as mCART1 or SLC25A51, the same as the gene.
Oh, so the protein is called the same thing, SLC?
Yeah, I mean, it's got two names in the literature, so either the same as the gene name or mCART, MCART1, but they're both.
So so a doctor could go, oh my goodness, your mCART1 is so low. Now we know we need to supplement with NAD plus or injections or or even by then maybe there'll be drug therapies to improve the function of this increase this protein.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, it's a little tricky when you're dealing with blood, right? Because there's no mitochondria in the red blood cells. So you've
Right.
got, and there's nothing in the plasma that's going to indicate anything. So you have to isolate white blood cells. But then, yeah, you could absolutely look for levels of the protein. You could go all out and isolate enough white blood cells to then isolate mitochondria and actually directly measure the NAD and see if they're really deficient. And it turns out NADH is autofluorescent. So there's a little bit of a high background, so there'd be a bit of an engineering problem involved. We could probably get to the point where you could do, flow the cells through a flow cytometer and look for autofluorescence from the NADH in the mitochondria, and maybe diagnose whether at least there's a problem getting NAD in there, without necessarily knowing whether it's this protein.
Do you think things like exercise? I've said on the show for years that if I had cancer, I'd still fare better if I kept exercising. Like no matter what disease state you get, except obviously if it's some neurological disease where you can, motor function is. But even then, trying to push yourself to move more probably would keep you functional. My sister died from Parkinson's disease. And when I lived out in Arizona with her, I used to take her to the gym, and she was progressing. So even with a disease like that, she was getting stronger week to week. And so, do you think exercise affects this this gene?
We don't have direct evidence again for the gene expression changing in exercise, but I think it stands to reason for sure.
Right.
Clearly, you need to boost mitochondrial function in exercise, and you do upregulate NAD synthesis as a response to exercise, and the total tissue NAD is higher. So that's a question that we should be answering in the next month or so. Whether exercise really boosts NAD in the mitochondria and whether it affects expression of this gene. That certainly makes sense. And that's certainly consistent with everything we've seen on aging in general, that exercise seems to always be beneficial unless you cause an injury, right? I mean, you see that with older people exercising. Right? If you don't break your hip, you're in much better shape for exercising. Obviously, it becomes a really bad thing, and partly because you become immobile for so long. If you do sustain an injury, that it's the complete opposite of exercise. You're basically doing nothing for weeks and weeks, and that can have really detrimental effects.
Do you know who thinks exercise is a bad idea? You know who Aubrey de Grey is? He wrote the mitochondrial theory of aging.
Yes, I know Aubrey.
Do you know him personally?
Yeah.
Okay, so I met him here in Louisville, Kentucky. He was here for some sort of program. And so I asked him to come on the show. And so he came on the show. It was by phone. We weren't doing video back then. This is probably about 8 years ago. And we were talking about exercise. He says, exercise is a horrible idea. He said, all you're doing is spinning off more oxidative stress. He said, and we joked, he likes his pints, he loves to drink beer. And so, and I said, wow, I said, I think I'm going to keep exercising. And he said, well, you should, if that's what you want to do. He said, but according to the research, you're just loading your body up with oxidative stress, and it's just not necessary. And I just thought that was so monolithic of a view on what exercise does. You know what I mean? It was just funny.
No. I mean, there's certainly different viewpoints out there, and there is some evidence that in rodents, for instance, if you extend lifespan with exercise, you extend the average lifespan, but not the maximum lifespan. And with calorie restriction, sometimes you can extend the maximum lifespan. And so there's this argument that exercise, isn't maybe fundamentally affecting aging as much as some of the other pathways people study. In fact, there was a rat study where they exercised one group and calorie restricted another group just to match body weights. And in that scenario, so you get two rats of the same body weight, the ones that didn't exercise lived longer. And I think that sort of fuels these types of discussions you would have with Aubrey. But clearly in humans, there's a strong positive correlation between health and exercise. I think there's no doubt.
So and I think I said this to you off air. The human body is so complex. Exercise is an artificial replacement for labor. We used to work. We used to hunt and gather and lift and build. And even up through, the 17, 1800s, we still were predominantly a labor-based population. And then everything shifted in the 1900s, and we started to become office workers and computers. And now we sit for 8 to 10 hours a day, where we used to be mobile and ambulate for 8 to 10 hours a day. And so I think that what we have to be careful of is sometimes when they do studies on exercise, there's not a balance on what is considered cardiovascular and conditioning exercise and muscle building exercise. The anabolome is very ignored. The value of muscle is very, very ignored. We see studies out of places like the Veterans Administration in California, over 60,000 men they followed for 20 years. And they gave them a leg press and a grip strength at the beginning of the study. And then they tested these men every 5 years moving forward for 20 years. And the men who were the strongest at the beginning of the study and continued to maintain their strength were the ones who lived. And the men who were the weakest and continued to get weaker were the men who died. And, you know, there's a reason that the strong survive is a true statement that we still carry on today. Yeah, part of it was because you could defend yourself, you could hunt, you can fish. But from an evolutionary perspective, those are all key components of evolution. That and offspring, right? Like I tell people all the time, the day your libido is going, you need to find out what's wrong with you. Because that's your only job here on the planet, is to have sex and make offspring. And if that's not working, your body's on the wrong side of the curve now. You're going to your grave now. But I think some of these studies, when they do exercise studies, you know, they put a rat on a wheel and they make them run some ridiculous amount of time. You know, there's more to exercise, but and there's also more to muscle building than is given any credit, I think, when they do those types of research papers. It's just my assumption. Because building muscle, you know, those of us who train hard and intensely, we have larger mitochondria and we have more mitochondria per muscle fiber. And that, you know, that's got to mean something, right?
Yeah. And I think free radicals sometimes get a bad rap too, in that, you know, obviously way too many of them is a bad thing, but you need a certain level of free radicals and oxidative damage to function normally. And I think, you know, the level that you get with exercise, you could argue, is maybe in that functional range where it is promoting beneficial adaptive responses, you know, and quenching it might not be the best idea.
ROS is responsible for killing tumor cells. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody wants to, you just got to squash that ROS. You go, no, in fact, it's thought that one of the ways IGF-1 helps cancer cells progress is not just from the growth promoting side of it, but IGF-1 is a powerful antioxidant, and it completely arrests ROS. And so it's almost like a push-pull. You got the growth factors pushing this way, and you got the reduction in potential tumor-fighting oxidative stress pulling this way, and so you see this massive growth that it's phenomenal. So yeah, I think a lot of people are taking Buckminster fullerene buckyballs because rodents live. I'm like, dude, man, don't tell me about the rat that lived or the mouse that lived. So, and they had to kill him because the study was over. That's, you know, oh my God, I want to take that. I'm going to live forever. There's everything in balance. It's not everything in moderation. It's everything in balance. The body likes homeostasis. It likes all of the things that are there, and they're there for a reason. And that's millions of years of evolution. I want to take our last commercial break. And when we come back, I want to ask you what you hope both clinicians and lay people take away from this research. But also, what do you see your next study to be? So, if you can say that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio.
Give yourself a reason to get back in the gym with Planet Earth Pre-Workout CBD. With a delicious blue ice flavor, this pre-workout can power you up to achieve your goals. After a strenuous workout, reward yourself with Planet Earth's post-workout powder. This highly advanced formula consists of premium-grade ingredients to support growth, recovery, and your overall performance. Power up, cool down, and gain muscle with Planet Earth CBD. Go to shrnetwork.biz/power and save 20%. Use code POWER. Don't wait. Order now
now. My friends over at Bioptimizers, makers of industry-leading digestive supplements, have created a special recipe for you that helps boost brain performance in the morning. They make products Primergen V and Primergen M, potent liquid vitamins and mineral formulas loaded with absorbable vitamin Bs and trace minerals in a fulvic and humic acid base. You stack that with 3 capsules of Capex, their enzyme and energy supplement, and the effect is even stronger. You'll be buzzing without jitters or any negative side effects for hours. Bioptimizers calls this the Brain Boost Stack, and they're running a special promotion for you at shrnetwork.biz/brainstack. That's shrnetwork.biz/BRAINSTACK. You can get an additional 10% off from the normal package price with the coupon code SHR10. It's a powerful way to get your brain going and optimize your daily focus, memory, and performance. You've heard me talk about the chill pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes the anxiety away, which I have a long history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything and everything I could that would be healthy for me to help with anxiety. Because I'm talking, full out panic attack. The chill pill was the first thing that I've found that actually in the middle of a panic attack I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the chill pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers.
Mind Bullet is a kratom product derived from the coffee family to boost energy and creative juices. Mind Bullet comes in both pill and liquid form for the ultimate pre-workout supplement. When needing a little pick-me-up or to get through the morning fog, Mind Bullet will set your productive course fast. Go to shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet, all one word, today, and save 20%. No subscription required. That's shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet. Get yours today.
Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom-made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
Welcome back. Talking with Dr. Joe Baur, we're talking about this fascinating gene that was discovered that is what allows NAD plus, it produces a protein, correct? That it allows NAD plus to cross the mitochondrial membrane and get in there and do its job. So what's the future look like now that this has been discovered? I know that this is the very beginning, and your mind has to be filled with like all the different things that you'd like to learn about this gene. What does it look like, the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a basic research perspective, we want to get these tools out there, make people aware that this protein exists and that the potential for designing this into experiments exists. So now, instead of every time that you would give an NAD supplement and maybe see some beneficial effect, we can ask whether or not it's happening because of the mitochondrial NAD content. Right? I'd love for this to become a standard tool in the field, that you go through boosting with normal wild type condition and then boosting NAD with blocking mitochondrial import and asking if you still get the beneficial effects, really being able to map out how that's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, from a clinical standpoint, I think you can imagine this now being considered when people have mitochondrial disorders, or just if their mitochondria aren't functioning optimally, right? If people have low VO2 max or something like that, or heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, where it's just sort of exercise intolerance as the phenotype, considering whether or not something's wrong with this system.
Are you familiar with a peptide protein called MOTS-C, MOTS?
Yes.
I use it. I use it. I inject MOTS-C at 5 milligrams, 3 mornings a week. I feel MOTS-C. MOTS-C, if I take MOTS-C too late at night, I can't sleep. And so is MOTS-C working in the same way, the pathway that NAD plus works? Or does it affect NAD plus or?
We haven't seen any direct evidence that it's affecting NAD+. I mean, the challenge with MOTS-C is it's encoded in the mitochondrial genome, right? And until recently, it hasn't been possible to edit the mitochondrial genome to really do the most basic experiments with MOTS-C, where you would knock it out and see what happens to the surrounding tissue. That's actually changed recently. There's been a big discovery of a method to edit the mitochondrial genome. And so I think MOTS-C research is going to get much more interesting in the next couple of years.
Fascinating.
But again, we don't know yet whether it's having any direct link to NAD.
Dr. Baur, do you know anybody in your circle of friends who's injecting MOTS-C right now?
I don't.
I know, I'm a freak. So years ago, I used to call myself the 250-pound Wistar rat because I experimented on myself. We'll see if I'm going to pay for that someday. So we'll see. So what about the whole senescent cell thing? Do you think that you might look into that, like how senescent cells are affecting this protein, this pathway, and this gene?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the straightforward experiments just to look at whether it's affecting the level of the protein or the level of the mRNA are certainly pretty high up on our list of things to go through as fast as we can to see if there's a lead into one of these areas. It gets a lot more complicated to assess whether just the function is being affected. But certainly that's something we'll get to too, looking in older animals where we isolate the mitochondria and see if the NAD levels have changed. And if so, if we can attribute it to something specific that's happening to this protein, even if the protein level's the same.
Fascinating stuff. I can't wait to have you back on because I know I'm going to have you back on. So when do you think your next paper will be published?
Well, I think, there's sort of two lines of research, that follow directly on this, and we'll see which one gets done first. One of the things we want to do is knock out this gene in vivo. So in an actual animal, see what happens. I'm pretty sure it's going to be lethal if we knock it out in the whole animal. So that'll be a commentary in a paper. But I think if we go knock out specific cell types, there may well be interesting adaptive responses. I mean, certainly we'll be able to see, what happens acutely when it's gone for the first few days. But there's possibilities. There's things like connexin 43 that have been claimed to share NAD between cells, or to at least be able to give NAD a pathway in and out of the cells. So you can imagine it may be that the animal actually survives, without this pathway, and can, pick up NAD through other pathways that either emerge or get help from the neighboring cells and things like that. So we're really interested in that first study to see what happens in a living organism that has a chance to adapt to this deficiency.
I think this is fascinating stuff, and it's very, very exciting. And I kind of feel like this is probably the biggest thing to happen in mitochondrial research in a long time. And maybe I'm just over optimistic, but I have a feeling that this is really going to. I can't wait to find out about a supplement or nutritional approach that we see affects this. This is big because everybody's taking NAD plus, they're buying it, and they don't even know if it's working, and they may not have the proper, or the, let's say, optimal transporter function occurring, and they're just wasting their money on that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I think NAD is at that stage where, there's lots of interesting reasons to hypothesize from research in rodents that it's going to be good, but we haven't proven it yet in humans, and it's a high bar to prove it in humans. So there's this element of faith at this point. You either wait 10 years and see what happened for real, or you just go out on a limb.
Right. Listen, I want to thank you for being on the show today.
All right. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Take care. All right. We're going to switch up things in just a moment. I want to give you the update on, I know a lot of you have been following. So I have an addictive personality. Everybody knows that. I'm a product of the 60s. And so I have abused caffeine for really quite a long time. And many of you know, I've come in and said, I've stopped caffeine. And then a week later, I'm using 1,500 milligrams a day. Well, I can tell you, not even chocolate. I had no caffeine Tuesday on the Blueprint Power Hour. And people saw, I looked like I was a junkie jonesing. I was biting my fingernails on the air. I was rubbing my forehead. All I could think about was, man, I wish I had a Bang energy drink right now to throw down. By Wednesday, it got worse. But I didn't use any caffeine, not even chocolate, nothing with caffeine in, not tea, nothing. Training was ridiculously hard. I dragged myself into the gym. I trained. I dragged myself out of the gym. I came here. I did the shows. Around Thursday, I started noticing I wasn't looking for caffeine first thing in the morning at all. And I was going to the gym first thing in the morning so I could just get in there and have no excuses. This weekend, I trained hard. I had one of my best leg days I've had in probably the past couple years today. I trashed my legs. And I got to tell you, I feel there's so many things. First of all, my gut has been effed up for so long. It's gotten distended. All I do is belch. I wake up in the morning belching. I haven't eaten anything since 6 p.m. the night before. I'm not bloated at all anymore. Elisa said this morning, your stomach looks like it got flatter. It's the caffeine. I'm telling you, our population is killing themselves with caffeine. Now, caffeine and coffee are two separate things. And people like to say, oh, but coffee's okay. Coffee's actually worse. Okay. Caffeine raises homocysteine levels all by itself, which is an independent marker for heart disease. Think about that for a second. Coffee raises it even more. You know why? Because coffee also blocks the receptors in the liver that get the caffeine out of your body. So coffee turns everybody into a slow metabolizer of caffeine. I am so excited right now. And you know what? I actually think I've developed an allergic reaction to caffeine because when I drink it, my throat starts to itch. I get a tickle in my throat. My nose gets stuffed up. So today is the first full week. Last Tuesday, no caffeine. Today, no caffeine. And I really feel like I should get a medal because I have been abusing caffeine for the better part of 18 years now. I'm talking about at least 1,000 milligrams a day. I used to do 300 milligrams first thing in the morning, go into the gym and train legs, do 300 milligrams right after that so that I could come do whatever I had to do after that because I was exhausted and trashed. See, and that's the other thing. Adel Musa did a great blog post about 4 years ago, and he showed that caffeine pushes you into being overtrained, whether you want to be or not. That's for those of us who understand how overtraining rots your body. Think about that. And the other thing that I want to say is everybody always talks about stress. Stress kills, stress kills, stress kills. Well, you know, when you can't get on a treadmill and run for them to do a heart test on you, they give you an injection of basically the same types of things that caffeine does. They give you an injection of stimulants that raise your heart rate and raise all of the stress adrenal hormones in your body. Caffeine is liquid stress. You're drinking stress. That's what you're doing with caffeine. And the faster you realize that and get it out of your life, I promise you, your body will thank you for it. It's garbage. And I know everybody loves it. Everybody uses it. I was as close to it being a junkie as you could be with caffeine. Really, really. So think about that. But today is my first full week, no caffeine. I feel great. My mind is right again. I slept good last night. I trained hard today, no caffeine. So think about it. If you have gut problems, give up the coffee, give up the caffeine. Just do it for 3 weeks. What do you got to lose? And if it doesn't do anything to your gut, but my gut feels so much better, I can't tell you. And everybody complains about having gut problems. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Jason Provenzano. And we're going to talk about CBD and sports nutrition. What can it bring to the table? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave believe it. You'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor? Strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest, so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman. I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 25% off all beef and free shipping on orders of $100 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to PIEDMONTESE.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
When craving a snack, reach for Select Savory Snacks Sugar-Free Biltong, the healthy alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. They use a fattier cut of beef, making it more tender and flavorful. For mealtime, choose from their 63 seasonings, which are sugar and additive-free. From chipotle rub to savory pumpkin spice, you'll find an option to suit your palate. Go to shrnetwork.biz/SSS today. Use code SHR15 to save 15% on any meat snack or seasoning. Savor the flavor today. Give yourself a reason to get back in the gym with Planet Earth Pre-Workout CBD. With a delicious blue ice flavor, this pre-workout can power you up to achieve your goals. After a strenuous workout, reward yourself with Planet Earth's post-workout powder. This highly advanced formula consists of premium grade ingredients to support growth, recovery, and your overall performance. Power up, cool down, and gain muscle with Planet Earth CBD. Go to shrnetwork.biz/power and save 20%. Use code POWER. Don't wait. Order now.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We're joined by Jason Provenzano from Planet Earth CBD. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing good. How you been, Carl?
Wonderful. So you're right. We were messaging offline. Jason put me in touch with the guy I worked for when I was probably 16, 17 years old, Pat Reynolds. They called him the Fox back then. I know the story why they call him the Fox. And when you said to me, the silver fox, and when I saw his picture, I was like, oh my God, he got all gray, but so did I. You're lucky, Jason. You're not gray at all. But yeah, I'm hoping to talk to him soon because I have very fond memories of him. I was thinking, did maybe he and I end on a bad note because I messaged him on Facebook and I thought, well, I was a kid back then and, but I don't think so. I think
No, I spoke to him and he said nothing but good things and he remembered who you were and yeah. No, it's all good. Pat's just probably busy between here and there and,
Yeah. Anyway, how are you doing, Jason? What's new with you? How's everything?
Everything's fantastic, living the dream.
Yeah, there you go. So we're here today to talk about CBD as an ergogenic, as a dietary solution during training. And I don't think anybody knows more about this than you because you've actually formulated products that work synergistically with CBD for people to use around their workouts, right?
Yes. Like the misinformation about a lot of CBD that's out there, you just don't know what you're getting. And with Planet Earth CBD, our CBD is sustainably sourced right here in the US. With other brands, you have no idea what you're getting. And, and there's a lot of misinformation out there with that.
Yes.
With Planet Earth, you're guaranteed that the CBD is sourced in Oregon. It's never sprayed. It's a very safe product. And, it's been developed into sports nutrition products, especially, to help with the focus and the concentration and the recovery of your workout. There's a lot of great sports products that are out there, but not many, implemented CBD of high quality, to go along with it. So now it's like it's enhanced sports products.
I know a lot of people who would take their favorite sports supplement and take it with CBD. So this was the natural next step, to just start making the products with the CBD in it. So explain to me and the audience, what does CBD do for me? Look, I'm a 60-year-old guy, 62 years old. I wish I was 60. And I still train very hard, and I live with pain. And the pain bothers me sometimes when I'm training. I'm not training as hard as I'd like to because I'm nursing this. Is the CBD going to help a guy like me?
CBD will definitely, help somebody like you. I mean, if we're looking at how you were talking about not having your caffeine, okay, and you're getting rid of your caffeine. Let's talk about, you want to get into the gym, but you're kind of just dragging your ass, so to speak, and you take a scoop of the pre-workout, the blue ice. We call it the blue ice because it's very refreshing. It's almost along the lines of like a blue raspberry, but it relaxes your mind. It gets you pumped. It gives you energy. It's got 30 milligrams of full spectrum nano-emulsified hemp extract per serving. It improves the performance. It reduces fatigue. It enhances your focus. I mean, what else do you need to start training right there?
Oh, yeah. So I think a lot of people are confused. A lot of people think that CBD makes you, I'm going to say a word that you probably know because you're Italian, mushat. It makes you weary. It makes you sluggish. Why would I take that and then train? So you're saying it doesn't do that, right?
No, it absolutely relaxes you, or it allows you to focus. It doesn't, it relieves stress and stuff. But when you put it with a pre-workout, which is loaded, with B vitamins, to give you the energy levels, it's just going to allow you to hone in on what you got to do and go from there. No, it's never going to leave you slumped over.
So what you're saying is, what it sounds like to me is, it gives you that calm feeling, like the way you should be right before an important event, instead of being jittery and stressed out.
I can't speak on most people, but my brain is very difficult to turn off. How you said you got an addictive personality. That's me also, and my mind never stops going. I keep a pad and a pen right next to my nightstand, because if I wake up and something's in my head, if I don't jot it down on the paper, I can't fall back to sleep. Yeah, well, I do have something for that too, which is a soft gel that has melatonin and chamomile, but that's a whole different subject there.
Right.
Which allows me to get my straight 8, instead of 5.5 or my 6. But, this, it just allows you to relax and be the best person you're supposed to be, because the anxiety, it's the number one killer with stress. This just gives you an even keel. That's it.
Does the blue ice CBD component hit you faster because it's nano emulsified?
Oh yes, it definitely works into your stream a lot quicker than that, because what happens with the nano emulsified that most people don't understand is it's the particle size of the CBD is it's put through an emulsifier that breaks up the particle size to whatever whatever that percentage is. But if it was a whole particle, it'll break it up to 1,000th of a particle, which the absorption rate gets in there a lot quicker.
Okay, so if I'm going to train at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, when do I take the blue ice?
Oh, I would say before you get in the car to drive on over, to the gym, and even while you're training it, if you put it in the shaker, put it in the shake, or start drinking it on your way over there, and even use it to quench your thirst while you're in there.
Is there any sugar in the pre-workout?
No.
Then what's the other product? There's 3 products that you have specifically for sports.
So there's protein, which is it's strictly it's protein, vanilla protein. It's got 22 grams of protein, again dosed with 30 milligrams of the full spectrum nano emulsified, again reaching your bloodstream faster. It's loaded with a wide range of essential amino acids in there, which is going to help you gain muscle and build strength. There are 3 things you're supposed to be taking when you're working out. One would be a protein, to help get your aminos in there. The other would be the pre-workout, which is going to get you wanting to go to the gym, give you the energy. And then the next one, and this is the most important one, is the post-workout, which is going to help with the recovery. And we have it flavored in it's a coconut lime mojito flavor. Many workouts, they're going to leave you in pain, but that's because the exercise causes microscopic damage to the muscle fibers, triggering the body to respond and repair. It leaves you feeling stiff and sore. The post-workout is going to relax the muscles. It's going to reduce the spasms, and it's the CBD promotes the movement, and gets rid of the stiffness that you could get.
What else is in what else is in the post-workout besides CBD? Is there protein in that as well?
Well, no, electrolytes.
Minerals.
So you look at the sideline at Gatorade, or one of those things. It's a huge electrolyte thing. People are drinking it to reduce the cramps and stuff like that. But those things, they're loaded for taste. They're loaded, the wrong way. This is designed specifically for you to go in, do what you got to do, drink this after. It's going to help you recover. It's going to help you recover faster. It's going to help the muscles recover faster. It's going to get rid of the soreness because, again, CBD helps with pain. We talked about that last time.
Right.
It made all the sense in the world to, when I was going to do this, was to just focus on sports nutrition with it. I didn't want to let me have tinctures in a bottle and, maybe do some gummy bears. That's not what this was for. This was designed, the whole entire line. And if you go on to the website, planetearthcbd.com, and you watch, there's a video, and that whole video is showing this sport, this athlete, this person, doing everything, and it's what it was designed for, Carl.
So we have a special offer for people. If you go to the URL shrnetwork.biz/power and use the code POWER, you'll get the 20% off the best CBD infused pre, post workout and protein powder. And I want to clarify something. The protein powder, the protein's not derived from CBD. You're using dairy protein, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So you're using the best whey protein.
They're using whey protein.
I don't want people to think that this is a plant-based protein, which is very ineffective. You're just adding the nano-emulsified CBD to a high-quality protein.
Correct.
That's beautiful.
Correct.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. Now, do you have anybody in the office that works out, Jason?
Oh, I have plenty of people that work out here. Matter of fact, in the warehouse, we have a gym positioned off to the side. If somebody, if they're working too late and we have, a shower that they could use, and they also have a gym in the warehouse.
So are any of the guys at work using these products and training? Do they report? What are they reporting back?
Oh, they love it. They love it, and they feel good about it because they know where it's made. They know how it's made. They know that, it's, in an FDA approved facility, GMP compliant,
Right.
that all of my stuff is third party tested, that's the good thing. Like, when you go to the site, a lot of places claim this, do this, but they don't show you the results. We have the results posted that you see the lot that you're buying. And that lot has been tested, and that's what's the latest that's up there.
Right. Very, very cool. All right. So I'm going to give this URL again. The URL is shrnetwork.biz/power, and that's capital POWER. If you use the code POWER, you'll get 20% off all of the Planet Earth CBD sports nutrition line. Give it a try. I want to hear reports back from the audience. I want you people to tell me what you think. I'm actually going to try the pre-workout because I'm changing up my whole pre-workout now that I've cut caffeine out, and I'm going to report back too. I have a feeling it's going to help me because, like I said, I got lots of injuries from training for a couple decades, and they slow me down in the gym. I got to turn my knee a certain way so that doesn't hurt. And, so maybe I can get rid of those pains and it'll actually make my workouts even more productive. Absolutely. So, Jason, thanks for being here today to tell the audience, and thanks for the wonderful offer as well.
You got a call. Thank you for having me.
And if you talk to Pat, tell him I want to talk to him.
I will. I will.
I still think of myself as a kid when I think of him. Say the kid wants to talk to you.
I don't know how social media friendly he is, so I don't know if he's even looked at you friended him on Facebook, but I'll make sure he knows. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. All right. Thank you very much. And again, shrnetwork.biz/capital POWER. Use the code capital POWER. Save 20% off all of the Planet Earth CBD sports performance CBD infused products. Check it out. Okay, Jason, we'll talk later.
Thanks, Paul.
And that's it for today's show. I am excited that I'm caffeine free. I can't tell you how excited I am to be caffeine free. I feel so friggin' good. I don't know what to say about it. And I wish I would have done this a long time ago. I really do. All right, look, we have lots of great shows planned all week. We're still not on Facebook, but we will be back on Facebook shortly. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening and participating, and we'll see you tomorrow.